it is. All right. True or false, guys? A sample is a subset of population, number 6.
True.
True.
Yep. What about 7? It is impossible to obtain all the census data about the US population.
True.
True.
Is it true? We don't, although it's supposed to cover the entire population, we don't capture the entire population. Number 10, a sample statistics will not change from sample to sample. For example, if I have a sample of students and I want to survey their age, I'll take 5 students, I add up their ages, divide by 5. If I get a different sample of 5, will I get the
False.
same answer? That's a false, definitely.
False.
Yep. Okay. Classify the data set, whether it is a parameter or a population or a sample. Population means the whole thing. A sample is a part of it. Just remember that. Number 11, the salary of each member of a Major League Baseball team.
Population.
So it's a parameter. It's a data set is a population, yeah. 13, a survey of 300 people from an auditorium with 13,000 people.
Sample.
Yes. Does everyone agree? Sample? Yes. 16, the number of wireless devices in each US household.
Population.
Population.
Yes. 20, the air contamination levels at 20 locations near a factory.
Sample.
Sample.
Sample, because there could be more than 20 locations. Yeah. All right, let's move on. Okay. Now here, guys, he gives you a statement. He wants you to tell what is the population and what is the sample. Let's do 26. I'm going to try to do the even number ones because the odd ones, they are available in the student solutions manual. But sometimes I like odd numbered exercises, so I select them. A study of 203 infants was conducted to find a leak between fetal tobacco exposures and focused attention in infancy. What would be the sample and what would be, first of all, what is the population? In order to get the sample, we need to know where it came from. What's the population?
All of the infants.
All the infants, exactly. That's the population. And what would be the sample?
203 infants.
203 infants, exactly, guys. Very good. Right. 30. A survey of 496 students at the high school found that 95% planned on going to college. What would be the population?
All high school students.
All students at that high school.
Oh.
All students at the high school, yes. And what would be the sample?
496
Well,
students.
the 496 students who were surveyed, I agree. All right, distinguish between parameter and statistics. Remember, a parameter is a number that describes a population and a statistic is a number that describes a sample. The 35. The average salary for 45 of a consulting firm's 300s engineer is 72,000. Is the 72,000 guys represent a parameter or a statistic?
Statistic.
And why is that?
Because they only have 45.
45, exactly, out of 300 engineers. They took the average, guys, they took the average salary out of the 45, not all the 300 engineers. Okay. What about 39? In a survey of 400 computer users, 700% said their computers had malfunctions that needed to be repaired by service technician. What does the 7% refer to, a statistic or a parameter? Okay, we have something in the chat.
Statistic.
I agree. Very good, guys. Usually, guys, a survey should be a hint for you that it's not the entire population. Okay. 42. In a recent year, the average math scores on the ACT for all the graduates was 20.6.
Population.
Parameter.
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 Yeah, very good. Okay, I'm gonna go to section 2, do some exercises. All right. Determine whether the data is quantitative or qualitative. Remember, quantitative is a measurement, is a number. Qualitative is a name, a label, or a number that doesn't make sense to add or subtract. So weights of dogs,
Quantitative,
100%. Carrying capacity of flatbed trucks.
Quantitative.
Yes, it's a weight. Hair color,
Qualitative.
qualitative. Student ID,
Qualitative.
100%. Heights of infants,
Quantitative.
quantitative. Responses on an opinion poll,
Qualitative.
qualitative. Unless if the response was to say how much money you have, but it's an opinion, so opinion is going to be in words. Wait times at the Department of Motor Vehicles,
Quantitative.
quantitative. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 10 minutes, that's quantitative. All right, determine the level of measurement now. Okay, 15. So we have nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. What do you think 15 falls under? The years that the television show on ABC won the Emmy for best comedy series are listed. These are years.
Interval.
Interval. We decided years is interval, guys. So, just 1 second. That's an interval. The top 10 business schools in the United States for a recent year, according to Forbes, are listed.
ordinal,
Ordinal. All right, that sounds good. Just gonna pick a couple more. 18. The length in seconds of songs on an album are listed. Definitely you have to rule out the first two, guys. Ratio, definitely. It's a ratio. Like, let's say a song is 100 seconds and another one is 50 seconds. If it makes sense that you say one song is twice as long as the other, then it's a ratio. Right away. And just not to confuse you guys, let me clear all drawing here. All right. Let's move on. I'm going to section 3 now, last section. If you scroll through the text, guys, and you wanted to do some exercises here, just you can click on it and then we'll take you to a practice exercise. You try it. These are study tips here, technology tip. This is the random table that I told you about, guys. You can see I didn't reinvent everything in my handouts. I got some of the ideas from here. And let's go. Observational study and an experiment. Okay, number 13. To study the effects of social media on teenagers' brains, researchers showed a few dozen teenagers' photographs that had varying numbers of likes while scanning the reactions and their brains. What do you think this one is, guys?
An experiment.
Yep, it is an experiment. All right. Identifying sampling techniques, that's very important to us. Number 23. So the sampling techniques, let me repeat them, guys. The first one is a simple random sample, stratified, cluster, systematic, convenience. 23. Selecting employees at random from an employee directory. Researchers contact 300 people and ask what obstacles, such as computer problems, keep them from accomplishing tasks at work. So those 300 people that were selected, what do they represent? What kind of sample? You select them at random from an employee directory.
Simple random.
Yeah, it's simple random. You didn't put him in a basket, but you got him randomly selected. That's all. That's what matters. Okay, what about 24? Questioning university students as they leave a fraternity party. A researcher asked 463 students about their study habits. They're leaving a party, remember, guys.
Convenience.
Yeah, I agree. Do you guys agree it's convenience? You're asking students who are leaving a party about their study habits from one place. That's convenience. And that's going to lead to bias, because probably likely those students are going to tell you that probably they don't study as much and they prefer, just to party more. So that's going to, and that's not a reflection on the entire student body. 25. You guys can see the questions, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. After a hurricane, a disaster area is divided into 200 equal grids. 30 of the grids are selected, and every occupied household in the grid is interviewed to help focus relief efforts on what residents require the most. What do you guys think this is? You split up the area into 200 equal grids. You select 30, and every single one in the 30 grids will be selected for interview. What would that be?
Ratified.
Professor,
Yes.
my Socratic is not loading.
Well, we'll see. We'll see that just once we finish this. I'll take care of it. Just.
Okay.
So, what do you guys think of this one?
Is it
Cluster.
ratified?
It's a cluster.
Cluster.
Because you have 200 pieces. You're going to 30 pieces and taking everybody from each grid, and select them. But I don't like, this, what would be if there is a bias in doing this, because he's asking you if there is a potential source of bias. There is a potential source of bias in this sampling technique. What is it, guys? What would cause harm in here if they do it this way? Okay, let me tell you why this can lead to bias. What about if the 30 grids that were selected, the damage is very light, it's not as severe as other grids that were not selected. So people who are determining, making conclusion about how much help, they should provide, they can make conclusion that the damage is not as severe, and that will impact, just the ones, just who live in grids that had more severe, just damage. But if all the grids experience the same damage, then there wouldn't be a problem to use a cluster. But if there are some grids who have more damage than the other, sustain more damage than the other, I think they should use a stratified sampling. Okay, let's go. Every 10th person entering a mall is asked to name his or her favorite store. What kind of sampling techniques?
Systematic.
Systematic, yeah. I don't see any bias here, since you're doing it for everybody from like morning till, they don't say only for a few hours. So 27. Soybeans are planted on a 48-acre field. The field is divided into 1-acre subplots. A sample is taken from each subplot to estimate the harvest. So they divide, the soybeans plant to 48 pieces, and they go to each piece and take from it and put them in the sample. What would that be?
Stratified.
Stratified, definitely, because it's not a cluster. A cluster, you will go to each acre and take all the members, whatever you have in that acre, you just put them in the sample. No, here he's saying a sample is taken from each subplot. When you take from each piece, it's a stratified. All right, the last thing, guys, we're gonna do is recognizing a biased question. How do you know if a question is biased or not? I'm going to read the question. If you think it's biased, tell me how you can reward this question and make it not biased. Why does eating whole grain foods improve your health? Do you think, guys, is a bias? Bias doesn't mean it leads, to something bad. It could be leading, to something good, but it's biased. It's still biased.
It automatically assumes that eating whole grain foods improves your health and asks why instead of asking whether it does.
And I think they're making it difficult for the person, just to say otherwise. It is implying, that eating whole grain food improve, just your health. Whether it is true or not, you should not, just imply it. Just let the person, just answer. So how would you reward this one, guys? Just change a couple words here, or one word to make it.
Take the Y out. I think when you put
Exactly.
the Y.
I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah. Take the Y out. And does eating whole grain food improve your health? I think that's not a biased question. Why does text messaging while driving increase the risk of a crash?
Biased.
It is biased. And as you said, if we remove the why, it will become a fair question. Number 33. How much do you exercise during an average week?
Not biased.
Not biased. Do you guys agree with what the student said?
I
I
agree.
think it's a normal
Yeah.
question anyone can ask. And this morning, a student told me he thought that he was biased, and I said, why? And he said, what about if I don't exercise? Well, I said, if you don't exercise, just said I don't exercise. It's not like either they're asking you if exercising improve your health or not. It's just asking you how much time do you spend on exercise. Zero is an acceptable answer, 0 hours. So 34.
Isn't that bias?
Yes. Okay. How does the media influence the opinion of voters? Do you think, guys, it's bias? It's implying that the media does influence, the opinion of voters. So to make it, just not biased, you just remove one word, and and that would be what, guys?
How?
Yeah. Does the media influence the opinion of voters? Now, if you ask a media person, they're going to tell you, oh, of course not. That's not our intention. But it does. It does. It's just, guys, you have to, after this chapter, you have to start listening carefully to what you hear and what you say and what you read, and try to criticize that. The last two things, guys, just a couple more examples that I came up with. I'd like to share them with you and show you how people can make biased statements and just influence others. For example, let's say there is a new type of cigarettes, a new brand, of tobacco in the market, and the company will market their new brand the following way. They will say, our cigarettes contain 6% less tar. Tar is a harmful substance, chemical substance in cigarette that can be found, just in tobacco products. So the company is making a claim that there is less tar there. They're saying our cigarettes contain 6% less tar. What's wrong with this statement?
What's the standard of less? Like, that's not addressed.
Can you elaborate a little bit more? Then probably you're getting close.
Well, like, damn. Like they don't say 6% less than the leading cigarette brand. They're just saying 6% less.
That's very good. They're not telling you less than what. There could be comparing their cigarettes, guys, to the worst brand on the market that has so much tar. It's already have so much tar, and they're telling you that we have 6% less than the worst brand in the market. Legally, they can get away with it. There are no issues. They didn't disclose, whom they're comparing, just to, but they can do that. So you guys, you have to start the question in that. The question is, they don't tell us whom, which brand they're comparing their cigarettes to. And the other issue is who's making the claim. It's the company that makes, just produces the cigarettes. That's another bias there. Here's another one. The chief of police, sorry. The chief of police makes the following statement. 95% of my officers don't take a bribe. What's wrong with this statement? Or what's not right about this statement?
Well, how would he know, first of all?
That's a good observation. How does he know? And if he knows, actually he knows or she knows about the 5% when he mentioned 95%. That's good. And who's making the claim is the chief of the police. Definitely, he wants his department, to look good. But how would you reward, just this claim, guys, and make it more acceptable? Rather than saying 95% of my officers accept a bribe, more than 95%, just don't accept a bribe or don't take a bribe. How would you reward this one?
Maybe like if you say when, Jesus, I can't make this sound good.
You can't say you're not going to mention the 95%, because if you mention the 95%,
no,
means you know.
yeah.
So what would you say rather than 95%?
In almost all instances, can you say something like that?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. You say I'm not aware, just of any incidents. Most of my officers don't take bribe, but don't mention a percent. You're liable to explain it. You have to explain, just where the percent came from, and that's why just have to be careful with that. Okay. Last example, a citrus company makes a claim that drinking their orange juice will reduce bad cholesterol. Actually, there are studies, guys, that support that. They say it does help lowering bad LDL cholesterol. But what is biased about the claim?
It's biased because it's a company, a citrus company is saying
Yeah,
that.
it's a company who produces the juices making the claim. So guys, if you really want to see some reliable studies, they have to come from, most of the time, third party. Or if it's not a third party, the one who's making the claim should support that with data, show us some real data. And that's what we're heading to in the remaining chapters. It looks to me like there are 10 minutes left. Probably it's not going to be enough to conduct the Socratic, but this is what I want to do. Let me just stop.